Here we go. Perfect. All right, we are now ready with Josh. If you have any questions for Josh Berry, go ahead and raise your hand. We're going to get to as many questions as we can this afternoon. And to kick us off, we're going to start with Bob Pockers. Bob, go ahead with your question for Josh.
Yeah, Josh, I'm curious how trying to use the same car for last week at Fontana and this week at Vegas kind of is impacted preparations for both.
Yeah, it's actually been a little weird. They gave them a couple hours after the race to work on some damage, which really kind of was just to just assess what they had to do. I actually still stayed and helped my team, and I'm planning on helping them again Thursday just because I'm really missing working on race cars right now. So, like for us, for example, we had to peel the wrap off. We have Tire Pros on the car this week, so we had the PUBG mobile app wrap over top of the Tire Pros wrap. So we had to peel that off and then swap out a couple body panels, just do some maintenance, and I guess that's about it.
And is that is it a big deal as far as just from a competition standpoint? Would you love to have a fresh car, or you're used to late model racing? You assume you don't do maybe as much as like an Xfinity team normally would do as far as refreshing the car between races?
Yeah, I'm not really sure how that'll really play out yet. I definitely think we would rather have a fresh car. I know that I think they gave them a little bit more additional time to work on the car because there's a good many of the teams that I believe just either got an accident and have to get a backup car out or just said that they're just going to go to the back. So I'm not sure if it's all playing out like they expect or not, but I mean, the majority of the top 15 or 20 are planning on running the same car. So I think that they all have a game plan of what they want to change. And I'm not going to say it will be 100%, but I'm sure we'll get it close.
Thank you.
All right. Our next question is going to come from Matt Weaver. Go ahead, Matt.
Hey, Josh, I got two for you today. The first one, are you surprised at all by how quickly it appears that you kind of picked up intermediate style aero racing because you took to it really fast? You won Vegas. Did that surprise you?
A little bit. I think that's obviously, still feel like I have a lot to learn in that area. It's a lot different kind of racing than I'm used to. I think I've kind of had those conversations with my team about just how to approach that. There's definitely some things that I got to clean up. But generally, yeah, I'm excited for where I'm at. I think before Las Vegas last year, I was excited to get back in the at a mile and a half and see how I've progressed in the past year. So I feel pretty good where I'm at there. I know I need to clean some stuff up. Had a couple mistakes here and there. Obviously, I had a mistake with Austin Hill early in the race, just not knowing you really couldn't give him a push, really was what that amounted to. And then I got to get better on restarts. I think that's my main thing, on the wider tracks when it fans out like that, just being more confident in myself and kind of going a different lane than what is maybe the preferred lane, I think will help me in those races.
And yeah, to that point, on one hand, you look comfortable and confident enough to be as aggressive as you probably need to be on restarts on those larger tracks. But at the same time, it's kind of put you into positions where either with Austin or with Allgaier last week, that it might be kind of compromising in some ways. What is the balance you feel like there has to be between racing the right way, but also being aggressive and capitalizing on restarts?
Yeah, it's just a fine line of knowing when to be aggressive and when not to. Each of those scenarios was a little bit different. Obviously, with Austin, that was just flat out really just a mistake. He got back in line. I give him a push, and I think I'm thinking that's I don't see anything coming out of that. Obviously, that tore his car up when he got turned there. So that was not something I expected. The incident with Justin, I think, was a little different. Me and Justin have a little bit different interpretation of how that one went down, but we worked through it and we'll be fine going forward.
10-4. Thanks, Josh.
Thank you.
Okay, our next question is going to come from Zach Sternalino. Go ahead, Zach.
Hey, Josh. So obviously you led a 1-2-3 finish here for JRM back in the fall. What do you feel like you guys are able to learn as an organization from that race that's going to translate to this time around? Because obviously that one was a little bit hotter, a little slicker of a racetrack and conditions as opposed to what it looks like it's going to be on Saturday. Are there things that can still translate from September to now?
Yeah, I think so. We've kind of going through our normal preparation that we do every week. Really, we kind of focused more on the spring race last year. I think the weather is going to be a little bit more similar than what we had in the fall. And in the fall, the track goes through a pretty significant transition from day to night. We're not going to have that this weekend, more than likely, unless there's weather or something in factor. So, but generally, I thought the cars they were pretty good in the spring. Last year too, obviously we were, all three of us really hit it, very well in the fall. So overall, I think they have a good baseline for there. We know that we're going to have to be a little bit better, and the tracks adjust to the difference in the track. And I think if we do all that, we'll be fine.
I know it's not the first time you're going back to a track as a winner because you raced at Martinsville again last fall as well. But I'm curious just the change in confidence from where you were entering Vegas last year, last fall, to where you are now. Like you were talking with Matt about where you've been on these intermediate tracks, to be where you are now, where's that confidence level?
Yeah, it's definitely building. It's getting better. Even still, like Vegas is a nice one, obviously, with our win last fall, that helps. But at least this is going to be the third time that I've raced there. So even a lot of times when we were like, oh, well, at least, you've been to a track, that I've only been there once, and I'm racing people that have been there for 10 or 12 years. So at least kind of stacking some starts there at Vegas, getting some knowledge built up will be good. And, obviously the more I race, the more that I'm going to learn, and I'm excited to go back there. I'm excited to go back to Vegas, but there's a lot of other tracks I'm excited to go to that I experienced last year, maybe early on, and really we'll be able to see how much I've improved as a driver.
Thanks, Josh.
Thank you.
All right, our next question will go to Nathan Solomon. Go ahead, Nathan.
Thank you. Hey, Josh, I appreciate the time today. Obviously, kind of related to that. As you start to go to these tracks for, a second or third time, like you said, Vegas is your third time here. It's just how comfortable are you starting to get with the car? And, is it changing as you go from track to track? Just how comfortable are you right now in this car?
Yeah, I feel like I'm getting there. Really, like I said, there's still a lot of room for improvement going forward, kind of like I touched on earlier. But generally, I think I'm getting a lot more comfortable, and it's nice to go to places for a second, third time. And it's nice that we got a little bit of practice now. We can kind of run some laps, get out and talk about it with our teammates, and make a few small adjustments. So I don't know. It's still, like I said, it's still a big learning curve, but generally, it's been going well. I feel good about everything. We've had some good runs. I'm really excited to go to some road courses coming up. I think it's going to be a big challenge for me, and definitely not something that I've done a whole lot of, but I'm really excited to see how I stack up there. That's kind of been a focus of mine over the off season, is just preparing for that. So I'm excited to see how that goes as well.
Last year you split the 8 car with Sam Mayer for half the season. Last year, was there at any point any sort of awkwardness about splitting the car with him? And how has your guys' relationship started to develop now that you guys are both full time?
Yeah, I mean, there probably was a little bit of awkwardness at times. I've known Sam for a long time, really since he was really a young kid. He came into our late model program, and I worked with him a lot. I think that was maybe 2017, 2018. And actually, he spent a year with us in our late model program, and then went on to the ARCA series. And I actually worked with him again there. So me and Sam have worked together for a number of years, and I'm I think we've been around each other a long time. So, I mean, I think, yeah, I mean, obviously there's a little bit of awkwardness of that whole scenario, but I think Sam's really got a lot of talent. I think that he's, kind of going through the same thing I am. He just needs more experience, and he has a lot of talent. So I think he's already shown, had a great run last weekend, that he's going to be tough throughout the year as he continues to learn.
And then just from the practice and qualifying standpoint, last year you weren't really able to get much of that. With this new, I guess, qualifying and practice format that was kind of introduced last week at Fontana, just, have you kind of decided or learned on what you need to focus on in practice to get ready for the race, or does that kind of just not really matter and you kind of have what you have when you show up to the racetrack?
It's tough. It's kind of ongoing learning how that whole deal is going to work. But generally, you don't really have much. You can't adjust much on the car. Long story short, basically, to keep it simple, you're basically looking at what you could do during a pit stop. So you can get a little bit of a head start on your car if you feel like you're off one way pretty bad, but generally there's not a lot to do to really fix the speed of it if you're way far off. But it's nice to get a run. I think kind of our focus right now is just kind of not making a bunch of ins and outs out of the pits, maybe just do one run to see how the balance goes, and then qualifying is kind of another animal in itself, just learning how to get better at that, because like I said, even throughout the last year and all the experience that I gained last year, I never really qualified but a couple times. So that's another area that I've got to work on.
Thank you.
All right, I'm going to take our next question to Rob and then Marty. Go ahead, Rob.
Thanks, Amanda. Thanks for joining us today, Josh. I know we talked about this a little bit when we talked to each other in Charlotte last year, but when you think about it, you're having a dream opportunity to drive for JRM after many years as a short track racer. So when you think about your journey thus far, how surreal does it feel to be a full-time Xfinity Series competitor?
Yeah, I mean, it's really, really amazing. And, it's really humbling before, especially the weeks before leading up to Daytona, seeing the cars getting prepared, seeing my name on a hauler here that, I've been pulling into junior motorsports for over 10 years for multiple things throughout my, time here. So now to pull in as a full-time Xfinity driver and see my name on a hauler and things like that, it's really special. I'm trying to balance, enjoying this a little bit and try not to put too much pressure on myself, but at the same time I'm working hard and I want to do really well at this and I want to be here a long time. So I think it's been a lot of fun though. I'm so excited to be doing this and excited for what the rest of the year has in store for us, because I think we have a lot of potential that we can reach if we keep at it.
Certainly. My last question is, a lot of focus is on the Cup Series, of course, with their new next-gen car, and a lot of buzz with the Cup Series because of that, along with the new driver and team combinations. But if you had to be sort of a salesman for the Xfinity Series to these fans who just watch Cup races, what are a couple of selling points you'd give to these fans who are kind of on the borderline to watch Xfinity?
Yeah, I mean, I think that the racing itself is kind of, it just kind of speaks for itself. I think we've had phenomenal racing, and I think that one of the best parts about the Xfinity Series is just kind of the stories. You have guys like myself that are maybe older getting an opportunity. You have young kids like Sam that are extremely talented and getting started. And then you have, some older veterans that have been around for a long time. And I think it creates a real unique balance in the racing. And I think that, the racing itself, I mean, everybody's racing so hard because they're racing for they just feel like they have so much on the line, and the cars are really good. The bodies and everything really hold up on, and we can lean on each other a little bit and still be all right. And I don't know, it's just, it's been a lot of fun. And I think a little bit shorter races, a little bit higher intensity, and it's just been pretty crazy here, I feel like, the last year.
Sounds good to me. Well, best of luck this weekend and hope to see you at COTA.
Yep. Thank you, man.
Thank you.
All right. Our next question will come from Marty. Go ahead, Marty.
Thanks, Amanda. Hey, Josh, thanks for the time. So following up on Matt's question, I'm kind of curious on that as well. How has the adaptability been going from short tracks and being successful at late models to having these success in the past few intermediate races? Because I look at your stats from last season. The last two intermediates you ran, you led 24 laps at Michigan and a 4th place finish, then also the 38 laps at Vegas and winning that race.
Yeah, I mean, it's just been a steady work in progress, really. I think when we went into the opportunity last year with 8, I think we knew the short tracks would kind of be, a little bit easier start for me. Places like Martinsville and Phoenix, stuff like that. But the mile and a half are going to be, just an ongoing project just to learn that style of racing. And thankfully, I have a lot of help between all my teammates, Dale Jr., everybody at JRM, and then also been a part of Josh Wise's program for the past year and a half, and around a lot of really good race car drivers in that arena to learn from and lean on. And I think it just really kind of just I'm not going to say that I think that I was overthinking the big tracks, but I knew that there was some areas that I needed to improve on and learn from, and kind of just figure out what worked for me and what I needed to focus on to get better. And most of all, just get some experience, I think. So that I was able to do a lot of that last year. So I think that we're in a good spot going forward.
I'm probably fast forwarding here too much, but looking a couple weeks forward to Atlanta, there probably hasn't been a lot of talk on the Xfinity and truck side when it comes to this reconfiguration compared to the Cup side. Are you probably expecting maybe the similar thing to what Atlanta's pretty much been promising of this high speed, full throttle pack racing, some sort of thing with the reconfiguration? Is that what you're seeing on the Xfinity side or not really?
Yeah, I mean, it definitely seems like it's going to be more apt to be a speedway race. But, Atlanta, obviously being a mile and a half is a mile shorter than the super speedways, and, the banking, it's pretty narrow. I don't know how it's all going to play out. I think none of us really know. It's all going to be an unknown for us until we get there. But myself, I'm thinking it's going to be probably pretty close to a speedway race. Maybe not quite like what you see at Daytona and Talladega, but I think we're going to be packed up and pushing on each other. So it'll be interesting to see how that plays out.
All right. Appreciate it, Josh. Good luck to you this weekend.
Thank you.
All right, Josh, thank you so much for your time today. We really appreciate it, and best of luck this weekend.
Yep. Thank you.
All right.